Counter offers are in the air. They've always been part of wrapping up and tightening up a contract. There's some things you got to know if a counter offer comes in, or if you're selling a house and you respond to an offer and counter offer. There's some tactics we use to make sure you get the best deal, using it as a strategy to make sure you get what you need when you sell your home, or if you're buying a home. And sometimes when you're buying a home in a seller's market, you don't get anything you want, like price, terms, when you can move in, repairs, those kinds of things. And that's the build out of a counter offer, because the way the offer is shaped up, it's price, inspections, contingencies, when the seller is going to move out, meaning when you can move in, and all the associated costs involved, home warranty, escrow, transfer fees, all these other things are all tied up in an offer. And an agent that's been doing it for 22 years really knows what to look for in the 16-page offer to point it out, so that when we go back to strengthen that offer by saying, this is really what we want, and it could be price, it could be move out, it could be repairs, it could be your title company, it could be a number of things. It could be anything you really want. Now, so the way it works is offer is presented, and if the seller accepts it, then you're in contract. You're in escrow. If it's not everything you want, the seller will counter it and says, we accept this offer subject to this counter offer, which then goes into whatever the terms that they need. I need to move on August 15th. And then it has to be very specific who's going to pay for the PITI, or the monthly mortgage, after the close. It's a lot of going back and forth, and sometimes you just have to make sure that everybody's in agreement before you move forward. Now, tactically, what happens if your house is on market, I don't know, 37 days, and you originally had it priced at 1.89, and now it's down to 1.699, and it's still not coming in, and then you get a lowball offer? What are you going to do? You get one off, so one in the hand is better than two in the bush. What are you going to do? And I'll present that to you saying, I would just accept it, or maybe tighten up a couple little things, but the price is the price, because at the end of the day, sellers don't determine the price, the buyers do. And there's a pool of buyers out there, and once they've gone through your house and determined that it's too high for the condition, location, and market conditions, meaning comps, they're passing you on. And if it's on market for 37 days, that means you're overpriced based on those things. And when you get a lowball offer, that's one buyer is willing to do it. It's your side to decide if that's what you want or not. And yes, you have the right to counter it. Now, when you counter an offer, the buyer can respond one of three ways: yes, no, or let's meet in the middle. That's where negotiation comes in. And with that, if it came back, let's say you start at 1.89 and it went down to 1.7, and then you got a 1.6 offer, meaning you're $300,000 away from your original list price. That's what the buyer is willing to pay. And then you say, no, I'm not going to walk away from my property for 1.6. I know it's worth 1.8, 1.9, which that's where ego and hubris come together. That's where 99% of the houses that don't sell is because of ego, seller ego. They think their house is worth more than what it really is. And again, sellers don't determine the price, buyers do. When you overprice it, you hurt yourself. Your house sits on market for a long time, you lower the price, and then one buyer comes in with a lowball offer. Then you get pissed off at your agent because they're not doing their job. You see the problem here? The best way to make sure that you get everything you want. I need to move out on August 16th. I want as-is sale. I want no repairs. Attract as many buyers, get as many offers as you can, because anything more than two, you're in the driver's seat. Now you can go back and negotiate. I have 5 offers in hand. This is my highest best price. I can go back as a listing agent and negotiate with the other buyers, say, can you match it? Can you beat it? And that's how we negotiate. Yesterday, I talked about this house that's been on market for 37 days. Original list price is 1.9, it's down to 1.6, and it's still on market. The problem is I have 2 of the same model coming up, and this person's sticking around with price, ego. My house is worth this much money. If you remember looking at it, you can go back to it tomorrow and take a look. I'll put that link in today's blog. It was an updated kitchen, but the bathrooms were meh, and it was on the intersection, and it's just not super desirable. And it's on a busy street. When you overprice a house, all you're doing is hurting yourself. You say, I can wait for the right buyer to come along. All that is going to do is hurt you. And then you're going to get frustrated and desperate. And then you have desperation breath. And that just hurts the deal. That hurts you ultimately. So if you listen to your agent and get the offer done, you get your price listed low, attract as many buyers. The buyers know. They will look at the CMAs, the comparable market analysis, and say, this house is listed at 1.6, but it's really worth 1.75. I better get it around 1.75. If I want to be competitive, they write an offer for 1.75. If you're listed at 1.9, thinking, oh, my house is so much better, because and you're ignoring the fact that you're on a busy street and you haven't updated the carpets or the bathrooms, your house is going to sit, because they're not going to look just at your house. They're going to look at 50 other houses and look at 5 to 10 and make a decision. I'm going to buy that house instead of this one because this one's overpriced. So how do you do this if you have one offer? You got to be careful. I wouldn't really worry about price. I would understand that I made a mistake in forcing my agent to list it high and say that I was willing to wait for the right buyer to come along. You can counter the asking price. You can counter the condition. You can counter the inspections. You can counter repairs. You can counter all these different things. But is it a good idea? Are you willing to walk away from that deal as it's presented? Buyers know they have choices now. Even though it's a seller's market, if they're looking at a house that's on market 37 days, they're going to throw in an offer and say, hey, take it or leave it. And if you come back with a counter offer, they might walk. This is the conversation I have with sellers when they overprice their houses. It's frustrating to see ego and hubris destroy options and opportunities for you to do the thing you want because you think your house is worth more than what buyers are willing to pay. A counter offer is a good idea. Yes, if you have 5 or 6 or 7 offers, you're in the driver's seat. But if you only have one offer because you overpriced it, I would say just take the offer or don't accept it at all and be done with it. But then you're wasting this time of the agent. And that's pretty sad. It's pretty pathetic. Enough of that. This section of this episode is brought to you by the Home Inspection Checklist. If you haven't done so, please download this in the description. Download it and get you started with your honey-do list, and then we'll get started working on your house. Rates are down a little bit from last week, down to 6.88 for a jumbo. And if you're in a 30-year VA, is 6.17. So there you go. It's coming down a little bit, but it's not at 6 yet. You can absolutely buy it down to 6-ish with points. Talk to your lender. If you don't have a lender, I have 3 great guys that I can send you to. This is what you get for $1 million in San Jose, Santa Clara County. Homegate Drive, $1,050,000. Not my listing, 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths, 1,300 square feet, built in 1984, and it is right by Lake Cunningham Park off of Ocala and Capitol Expressway. This is a really good area, but it has an HOA, and you know how I feel about HOAs. Let's take a quick look inside. This one's going to sell pretty quick. Let's see how long it's been on market. 55 days. This is a pick-me-up. That's why. Look, original everything. Remember, you overprice stuff and it'll sit 55 days. Right there. I'm glad that they did the floor plan. Thank you for whoever this listing agent is. Yeah, I'm not happy about the paint. I can look past paint. Some buyers can't. What I would suggest is your kitchen is original. If you're asking a premium for a house with an original kitchen and bathroom, your house is going to sit. It doesn't matter the floor plan, doesn't matter the location. If it's overpriced, it's going to sit 55 days. Let me break this open here for you so you can see what I'm talking about. This is in our neighborhood. This is brand new, listed Swiss Drive, not my listing, $2 million, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square feet, built in 1966, and is on the Santa Teresa High School side, which means that you're going to have noisy weekends, football games, etc. But that's okay. It'll still sell because Swiss Drive is a busy street. Maybe $2 million is too much for this one, but we'll keep an eye on it. Let's take a look inside real quick. It's pretty. Nice views of the foothills. See right there, there's a little creek, and then right behind it, existing home sales. We're doing the 12 Bay area months of inventory chart, and just so you can see where we are. Everything seems to be going down in a downward spiral, even though this is, I believe, Napa. Yeah, it's Napa. It's even coming down. So we're right at the tail end of we're in the middle of the selling season. So we're seeing volume pick up. Rates are going down, so we're going to see more consumption. Everything here except for San Martin is below the 6-month